the heat rising in my neck, that sharp, cutting sentence that left my mouth before my brain could even attempt to hit the brakes, and then the immediate, sickening silence in the room. That was the exact moment I realized I had a massive problem. I was standing in my kitchen, having just completely snapped at someone I deeply care about over absolutely nothing. For years, I had read Marcus Aurelius, I had Seneca quotes highlighted on my phone, I knew the theory of emotional regulation perfectly. But the reality of that gap? It's jarring. I snapped. All that ancient philosophy, all those perfectly rational concepts about controlling your reactions, they completely evaporated the exact second I felt slightly stressed and criticized. My philosophy hadn't actually reached my behavior. The gap between knowing Stoicism and actually living it in the heat of the moment is just vast. So, I decided to run an experiment. I was going to stop reading about this philosophy, and I would actually live it for 30 straight days, not just highlight passages. Live it ruthlessly through 7 specific behavioral interventions. What happened over that month honestly surprised me. And look, to be completely upfront, some of it I really did not like. In fact, the most counterintuitive finding of this entire experiment was something I completely did not expect going in. I'll show you exactly what that was in a few minutes. But first, let's look at the very first phase of the experiment, the bookends of the day. Marcus Aurelius structured his mind by completely controlling how his day started and how it ended. If I was going to test this operating system, I had to begin right there. Consider the concept of premeditatio malorum, negative visualization. The theory here is incredibly simple. You sit down in the morning and you mentally preview the difficult people, the tech failures, and the massive obstacles you're going to face that day. The idea is that if you anticipate the friction before it happens, you just won't be blindsided when it inevitably arrives. I thought this morning preview would make me calmer, like putting on psychological armor. But my actual lived experience in week 1 wasn't calm readiness, it was preloaded anxiety. Instead of feeling prepared, I just found myself pre-worrying about traffic jams and irritable colleagues before I had even poured my coffee. I was literally triggering my own stress response before the day had even begun. The evening practice, however, was a totally different story. The evening journal. The theory here is gentle, philosophical reflection before bed. But the reality? Brutal self-accountability. Sitting down every single night and forcing myself to write out exactly where I lost my temper, where I acted out of evo, where I failed to be patient. It was exhausting. It held a daily, unflinching mirror up to my reactive failures. Which brings us to phase 2. Seneca's more aggressive physical interventions. Because Stoicism isn't just a mental game, right? It is heavily physiological. Seneca advised intentionally injecting discomfort into your comfortable life. So I tried it. I took freezing cold showers. I spent a night sleeping on the hard floor of my living room. I drank black coffee when I really wanted an expensive latte. The entire point is to show your brain that the things you fear, being cold, being slightly hungry, being uncomfortable, are actually entirely survivable. I genuinely thought sleeping on the floor would give me this profound, unbreakable gratitude for my mattress the next morning, but in reality, I was just incredibly grumpy. For the first 2 weeks, voluntary discomfort didn't make me a grateful philosopher. It made me an irritable, sleep-deprived amateur. My threshold for annoyance actually went down, not up. And this perfectly sets up our next practice, reframing loss. The Stoic practice of detachment sounds beautiful on paper. You don't own anything, you're just borrowing it from the universe. But during this month, I accidentally deleted a crucial project file I had spent 6 hours on. The theory dictates I should gracefully accept that the file was never mine to begin with. But the reality? I felt the sharp, highly unphilosophical sting of actual loss and frustration. My heart rate spiked. I was furious. Yet, as the month wore on, something actually started to shift. Under the hood, modern behavioral science tells us exactly what's happening here. When you look at fMRI data and neuroplasticity studies, consistently practicing negative visualization and reframing actually leads to a significant percentage drop in reactive emotional spikes over time. The ancient texts perfectly map onto modern emotional regulation. My initial anxiety and frustration, they were just the growing pains of rewiring a deeply entrenched neural pathway. By the way, if you're finding this explainer useful, and I genuinely hope you are, Growth Systems Daily exists to give you exactly this: real frameworks, real behavioral experiments, and real outcomes. Hit subscribe right now. It costs you absolutely nothing, and it means we can keep going deeper together into the systems that actually govern how we think and act. Now, remember that moment I told you about at the very beginning? That visceral memory of snapping at someone in my kitchen? The reason that happened wasn't because I lacked philosophical data. It was because in the heat of a crisis, under pressure, I didn't have a cognitive reflex to catch my emotional reaction before it became a verbal weapon. So let's look at the interventions designed for the exact moment you are under fire. This is where the rubber meets the road. The first technique is called the view from above. It's a mental exercise where, right in the middle of a stressful situation, you force your mind to zoom out. You picture yourself from the ceiling, then from the atmosphere, then from the solar system. It is specifically designed to make your massive, overwhelming, immediate problem feel incredibly insignificant on a cosmic scale. I tried to deploy this during a heated, frustrating argument late in the month. The theory is you instantly gain this serene, cosmic perspective. But my reality? Severe ego resistance. Zooming out felt awful because it meant admitting that my anger wasn't actually that important. My ego actively fought against losing its validation. It wanted to stay mad. It wanted to win the argument, not view it from the stratosphere. And then came the ultimate test, amor fati, the love of fate. Marcus Aurelius wrote that a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything thrown into it. You don't just tolerate obstacles, you actively use them as fuel. Well, during the final week of the experiment, I had a genuine, moderately expensive setback involving a broken pipe in my house. According to Amor Fati, I was supposed to love this obstacle. I was supposed to be thrilled at the opportunity to practice patience with the plumber. But let's be honest here, I didn't love it, not even close. However, the practice did successfully downgrade my reaction from what would normally be a complete, day-ruining meltdown to a functional, begrudging acceptance. I handled the problem without destroying my own peace of mind. And honestly, that is a massive win. All of this brings us to the massive realization that ties everything together. The thing I didn't expect about Stoicism wasn't the philosophy itself, it was discovering how much of my thinking was running on an autopilot. And that autopilot was decidedly not Stoic. It was reactive, it was ego-driven, it was completely addicted to external validation. I saw just how tiny the sliver of my conscious, philosophical action was compared to this massive mountain of reactive behavior. When you look at all 7 of these practices, the expected outcome versus the actual reality, a really clear pattern emerges. These practices did not magically give me new, enlightened beliefs over 30 days. That is a complete myth. What they actually did was aggressively reveal the deeply ingrained, broken autopilot systems I was already running on. The physical discomfort didn't create my annoyance, it just exposed the entitlement I already had. So, where does that leave us? Let's talk about the systems worth keeping. Stoicism is not a 30-day challenge. It is an operating system that you install slowly, over years. Based on the brutal reality of this experiment, these are the 3 practices that actually yielded structural changes in my behavior, and they're the ones you should start today. First, the evening journal for ruthless honesty about your ego. Second, the view from above to forcefully reframe your perspective when you are triggered. And third, amor fati, not to magically love your problems, but to practice the pragmatic acceptance required to actually solve them. But listen, this is only the software layer. Next time, I want to show you the hardware. What happens when you combine these ancient practices with what modern behavioral science actually proves about self-control and human neurology? Because Marcus Aurelius didn't have fMRI machines to prove his theories. We do. If this changed how you see your own reactions, subscribe to Growth Systems Daily. Every explainer we publish is another piece of the system designed to rewire how you think. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.